Quotations, beautiful. Name. Giving a name indeed is a poetic art. All poetry, if we go to that with it, is but a giving of names. You can judge of the growth of the nation by finding out which class of the nation in a particular period of history is held in honor and repute more than the others. Nations, like individuals, are made not only by what they acquire, but by what they resign. Nature does not proceed by leaps. Nature is not governed except by obeying her. Study nature as a continuance of God. Nature never did betray the heart that loved her. Necessity is the mother of invention. There is no necessity to live in necessity. There is no virtue like necessity. Self-love is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or really put his spots? In the field of world policy, I would dedicate this nation to the policy of the good neighbor. When your neighbor's house is on fire, your own property is at stake. A wise natural join neutral joins with either, but uses both as the honest interest leads him. For evil news rise post, while good news begs. News are as come as the morning air. Newspapers always excite curiosity. No one ever lays one down without a feeling of disappointment. Newspapers are the world's mirrors. In these days, we fight for our ideas, and newspapers are our fortresses. Nature's law, laid bid, hidden night. God's sake, let Newton be, and all was light. A nickname is the heaviest stone the devil can throw at man. Come, sable night. The sober-suited matron, all in black with a black mantle. The prelude of the night is commenced in the music of the sunset, in its solemn hymn in the ineffable dark. O nightingale, that on you gloomy spray warblest at eve when all the woods are still. The noble in every thought and every deed, however it be, it seems to me it's only noble to be good. For daring nonsense seldom fails to hit like scattered shot and pass with some poet. A little nonsense now and then is relished by the best of men. Cleopatra's nose, had it been shorter, the whole aspect of the world would have been altered. Novels do not force the readers to sin, but only instruct them. It is the nature of man to be greedy for novelty. Human nature is greedy of novelty. Novelty of noon is out of date by nine. To innovate is not to reform. All they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not shamed. And if wanted, he makes a reduction of quantity. Let my light hand forget the cunning. Let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. You depend on it, the more oath-taking. The more lying generally among the people. Obedience is the mother of success and is ready to serve. The obedience alone gives the right to command. Let them they obey. They not know how to rule. An extraordinary history, discharge and obligation is a sort of ingratitude. Men lived and died without name. Are the chief heroes in the sacred list of three. Some are most strongly affected by the facts of human life, others by the beauty of earth and sky. Men are born with two eyes, but with one tongue. In order that they should be see twice as much as they say. Each one sees what he carries in his heart. Where obstinacy takes his study stand to disconcert what policy has planned. There are very few that will own themselves in a mistake. Absence of occupation is not rest. A mind quite vacant is a mind distressed. The busy have no time for tears. A man who has no office to go to, I don't care who he is a trial on which you can have no conception. Occupation is the scent of time. Roll on, dog, keep and dark, bluish and roll. Five things are requisite to a good officer: ability, clear hands, dispatch, patience, impartiality. Public office is the last refuge of incompetent old age. Plans, more wrinkles in the mind than in the face. Few envy the consideration enjoyed by the oldest ambitions. Might wake up in the wind to sleep upon his omnipotency. So many men, so many minds. Opinions of good men is but knowledge in the making. The masses procreate their opinions ready-made in open market. Your opinions, but the fool that makes a scan. The outward habit of the inward man. Man's extremities cause opportunity. There is a tide in the affairs of the man which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. We must beat the iron while it is hot, but we may polish it at leisure. Opposition inflames enthusiasm. Enthusiasts never convert him. The oldest body is warm with opposition, the heart is sparked in collision. The place where optimist most flourishes is the lunatic asylum. Gods in heaven all strive with the world. Optimist proclaims that we live in the best of the possible worlds, and the pessimist fears that's just true. All push making revolutionary events have been produced not by the written but the spoken word. In oratory, the greatest art is to conceal art. A place for everything, everything in its place. Have a place for everything and have everything in its place. Ordered in heaven, first law, and this confessed, summer and must be greater than the rest. Originality, I fear, is too often only undetected and frequently unconscious, like resin. All good things which exist are the fruits of originality. He left off reading altogether to the great improvement of his originality. All finery is a sign of littleness. He reminds me of the man who murdered both his parents and then, when sentence was about to be announced, pleaded for mercy on the grounds he was an orphan. And does it come to this, that your knowledge is nothing to you unless some other person knows that you know it? His heart's his mouth. What his breast forges with his tongue must rend, as an ox goeth of the slaughter, home of the lost cause, forsaken beliefs and unpopular names and impossible loyalties. One fire burns out, another burnt him, one pain lessened by another's anguish. There are two things to be sacrificed, pain and pleasure. I mix them with my brain's paintings. A picture is a poem without verse. No author can live by his work, and an empty-headed is an every successful painter. Paint me as I am, I'll leave out the scars and the wrinkles. I will not pay you a shilling. A panic is the stampede of our self-possession, for he on honey dew had fed and drunk the milk of paradise. They who forgive most shall be most forgiven when the sun is departing. Children, some begin by loving their parents. As they grow older, they judge them. Sometimes they forgive them. A voice of parents is the voice of God's for to their children. They are heaven's lieutenants. Beautiful thoughts is by no means the most pressing ones in Parliament. I have no parting sign to give, so take my parting smile. Good night, good night. Parting is such a sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow. Party spirit, which at best is but the madness of the many, for the gallop of few. Conquest of passion is bound up by the conquest of Paris. It is with our passion as it is with fire and water that they are good servants but masters. When passion rolls, how beaten does reason prove? Let the dead pass bury its death. The best friend one can have is the past, not heaven itself. Upon the past's power, hope and patience will achieve more than our force. Patience and perseverance overcome mountain. Passion and perseverance overcome mountain. A patient man's passion is for a king. Patriotism is the last refuge of scoundrel. You will have a quiet world till you knock the patriotism out of your human brains. Peace itself is war in masquerade. Peace is such a precious jewel that I would give anything for it but peace with honor. Pearl, neither cast ye your pearl before swine, lest they trample them under their feet. But hold peasantry, their country, pride, when once destroyed, can never be supplied. Pedantry cramps our heads with learned number and takes out our brains to make room for it. To have the feeling of gentility is necessary to have been born gentle. A pen becomes a clarion. A pendulum flies backward because it doesn't care to see where he's going but wants to see where he's been. The heart has eyes but the brain knows nothing of. Bachelors, wives and old men's children are always perfect. Take away the idea of perfection and you take away enthusiasm. All the perfumes of Arabia will not retain this little land. Victory belongs to the most persevering. Obstinacy is a bad cause, but constancy in a good personality is to man what perfume is to flower. When you have a good cause, never descend to personalities. There are two levels of moving men, interest and fear. Philosophy is the art of living. Philosophy is the highest music. Philosophy triumphs easily over ills and past and ills to come, present ill triumph over philosophy. It is a great advantage for a system of philosophy to be substantially true. We have not only multiplied disease, but we have made them more fatal. Trust not too much in an enchanting tree. Self-indulgence and iron cake. In pity for the desolate branch, bring spring leaves to kiss it that fluttered in a lonely leaf. Consider pleasure as they depart, not as they come. Pleasure sends, and sometimes sends a pleasure. We mutually pledge each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. A poet is a nightingale who sits in the darkness and sings to cheer his own solitude with sweet sound. Not marble, not the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme. Poetry is a record of the best and the happiest monuments of the happiest and best mind. What's one man's voice is a signal is another man's meat or drink. A policy regained what arms had lost. To manage men out to have a sharp mind is a valid sheath. To be over polite is to be rude. The first rule of education in all lands is never to say anything offensive to anyone. There is no gambling into politics. Patriots are grown too shrewd to be sincere and be too wise to trust them. An honest politician is one who, when he's bought, will stay bought. Poor house. Over the hill of the poor house, I'm trudging my very way. Popularity, avoid popularity. It has many shares and no real benefit. God will not love thee less because men love thee more. Yea, you all did love him once, but not without cause. No country can be overpopulated if there is work for everyone. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. The higher we rise, the more isolated we become. All elevations are gone. To be positive, to be mistaken at the top of one's voice, every one of his opinion appears to himself to be written with sunbeams. It is not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own. The thing possessed is not the thing it seems. Possession is 9 points of the law. People will not look forward to posterity who never look backward to their ancestors. The foreign nation is a contemptuous posterity. Poverty is not wise but an inconvenience. No one should praise poverty but who is poor. Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Power comes from sincere service. All human power is compound of time and patience. It has been a rule of my life never to ask anyone of anything which I had not tried out of practice myself. Constant practice often excels at wind talent. Out of the mouth of the babes and sucklings thou has perfected praise. Our press is our wages. It is not the searches the for presses find certain. They never sought in vain that sought the Lord aright. Prayers need no speech. The pure was the better prayer. When the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. He preaches well who lives well. The world is dying of one, not of good preaching, but of good hearing. A precedent implements a principle. One precedent creates another. When they soon accumulate and become law. Reader, now I send thee like a bee to gather honey out of flowers and weeds. Every garden furnished with either and so is our read and meditate. It's never too late to give up your prejudice. Prejudice is a child of ignorance. Speak softly and carry a big stick, you will go far. Every present joy or sorrow seems the chief. Take the cash and let the credit go, nor heed the rumble of the distant drum. 4 hostile newspapers are more to be feared than 1,000 peons. Blessed are they who never read a newspaper, for they see the nature and through her God. What makes the forest who means most to see? Pride is at the bottom of all greatness. Say pride is increased by ignorance. Those assume the most who know the least. Pride goes before the destruction and haughty spirit before a fall. Put your trust in princesses. Principle is passion. Portrait and light. Prisons are built with stones of law, brothers, with bricks of religion. No more privacy than of goldfish. Never put off till tomorrow what you can do today. It needs a double bite and ill word. Progress is a lame woman. It can only come hopping. Every step toward progress the world has made has been from scaffold to scaffold and from state to state. Progress is activity of today and assurance of tomorrow. Our country has deliberately undertaken a great social and economic experiment, noble in motive, far-reaching in purpose. We promise according to our hopes and perform according to our fears. Promise is a promise, the soul of an advertisement. The magic of property turns sand to gold. Property has its duties as well as rights. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old man shall dream dreams. Young man shall see visions. Beware of false prophets, which some which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You can scarcely answer a prophet, you can only disbelieve him. Great virtues are necessary in bearing good fortune than bad. In prosperity, prepare for a change. In adversity, hope for one. Proverbs are short sentences drawn from long experience. Are not two sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your father? We must follow, not force providence. Fascination may prove precipitation, deliberating tilling may be wise consultation, the public be damned. Better be 3 hours soon than 1 minute late. Men are not hanged for stealing horses, but that horses may not be stolen. Anger to be very specially avoided, inflicting punishment. Punishment is lame, but it comes. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Quarrels will not last long if the wrong were only on one side. If a false quarrel, there is true valor. When songs the siren sang, or what name Achilles assumed when he hid himself among the women, the opposing questions are not beyond all conjecture. Sometimes quiet is just quiet me. What sweet delight a quiet life affords. Some for renown on scraps of learning truth and think they grow immortal as they quote. Next to the originator of a good sentence, the first quoted of it. Many will read in the book before one thing of quoting a passage. Rage. Enraged as the sea has tears fire. Your railroad, when you come to understand, is so only a device for making a world smaller. He sent rain on the just and the unjust. The sunshine greets me with a smile. The rain, his sad sister, talks to my heart, the kind refresher of the summer heart. I do set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be for a token of conflict between me and the earth. That smiling daughter of the storm. Through tattered clothes, shut small vices do appear robes, and turn down hide all. Rank and riches are the chains of the gold, but still chains. The fool rush to wear the angels fear to trend. Rashness in hand make all things insecure. It is well to read everything of something and something of everything. Reading is to the mind what exercises the body. The art of reading is to skip judiciously. The heart has reason of which reason has no knowledge. Good reason must do of force and give place to better. Rebellion against tyranny is obedience to God. Rebellion to tyranny is obedience to God. Mercy to him that shows it as the rule. Recreation is not the highest kind of enjoyment, but is the time and the place is quiet as proper as prayer. I know that mind pretty much live to great refinement and false delicacy, and true delicacy is the solid refinement. He that will not reflect is a ruined man. Every reform movement has a lunatic twinge. To reform a man, you must begin with his grandfather. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. God gives us relatives, thank God. We can choose our friends. For this relief, much thanks. It's bitter, cold, and I'm sick at heart. You have just enough religion to make us help, but not enough to make us love one another. Religion is a consequence of fear, the antidote to fear and failure and death. There's only one religion, though there are 100 versions of it. Sweetness is the remembrance of troubles. When you are in safety, praising what is lost makes the remembrance dear. Consider it is not so deeply. Farewell, remorse. All good to me is lost. Evil be thou, my good. Remorse is the echo of lost virtue. Joy shall be in heaven over on sinner that repaired more than 199 just persons where need no experience. Try what repentance can, what can it not? Yet that, what can it when one cannot repent? Hearty repentance broke the age of guilt and led the way to proper understanding. Before God can deliver us, we must undeceive ourselves. The best of men and ever love repose. Our fosterness of nature is repose. Repose is a special separating characteristic of the eternal mind and power. Republic aim through luxury, monarchy through poverty. Put them in man and woman, dear my Lord, is the meditative jewel of your souls. Seek the Babel reputation even in the canon's mouth. It is no use crying over the split milk. It only makes the salty for the cat. Submission to God is the only balm that can heal the wound he gives. Experience teaches that resolution is the sole help in me, and this the native view of resolution is sickled over. with faint cast of thought. Respectability, the more things a man is ashamed of, the more respectable he is. Responsibility, the fear of ignorance will never take away our responsibilities. Responsibility walk hand in hand with the capacity and power. Rest, birth of spirit. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust is sure and certain hope of resurrection. He that digged a pit shall fall into it. And God is a pure pay master. He may not pay at the end of every week or month or year, but remember, he pays in the end. They have sown the wind and shall reap whirlwind. The God adjusts in our of pleasant vices make instrument to plague us. Revenge is a kind of fire justice which the moment's nature runs to the more odds load to weed it out. Hope ushers a revolution and earthquakes are preceded by bright weather. Revolution were always rapid. My work is rewarded in daily wages. I fix my final value in love. A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford little. Wealth is not that it has it, but that his that enjoys. Lay not heap for yourself treasure upon earth where the rust and the moths doth corrupt. The man who dies rich dies disgraced. What animal goes on four legs in the morning, two at noon, and three in the evening? Be sure you are right, then to go ahead. I see the right and approve it too. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself otherwise. Uprose the sun and uprose simply. Two stars keep not the emotions in one sphere. Any road leads to the end of the world. The worst of having a romance is that it leaves you so unromantic. Romance is the poetry of literature. Tradition wears a snowy beard. Romance is always young. Rome was not built in a day. All roads lead to Rome. It never will rain roses when we want. To have more roses, we must plant more trees. The roses, the roses, the roses, the roses, with ruin upon ruin, drought on drought. Confusion was confounding. The ruling passion is the passion of ruling, stuffing the ear of man with false report. I believe there is nothing among mankind sweeter than humor. It is better to wear out than to rust out. Whither thou goest I go, and where thou lost I will lose. The people shall be my people, and try God my God. Sabbath was made for man and not meant for Sabbath. Sunday is a golden flash that binds together the volume of the week. Woman is the embodiment of sacrifice and therefore not violence. A life of sacrifice is the pinnacle of art and is full of true joy. Take my word for it, the saddest thing under the sky is the soul incapable of sadness. The one who is always knew that the same man can be a seller. Out of the danger, we pluck this flower safety. There are many questionless canons on earth that shall never be sense in heaven. The only difference between the saint and the sinner is that every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. A saint is a man of conviction who has been dead 100 years, canonized now but candid while living. A man must eat a peck of salt with his friend before he knows him. With pleasure drugged, he almost longed for woe. Satire is a sort of glass wherein beholders do generally discover every face upon their own. How awful to reflect that people say to us, true is true. Praise undeserved is a scandal in disguise, and scandal as in robbery. The receiver is always thought as bad as a thief. A woman smells of nothing except his smells. Low society, the world's great men have not commonly great. Scholars now its great scholars, great men. Science moves but slowly creeping on from point to point. Science is costly but stimulating to the imagination. Then are the classics. Nor sits in the scornful. Sculptures are far closer akin to poetry than paintings are. Praise the sea had kept on land. What about if we were not to drop the stranger? I detest. Secrecy is a sin. He who trusts a secret to servant makes him master. None are so fond of those secrets as those who do not mean to keep them. Seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall get opened unto you. Money and between the share of me and thee there is a loud ocean, my own surging self which I long across. Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. Self-interest sets in motion all sorts of virtues and vices. Learn God and thou shalt know thyself. He that falls in love with himself will have no rivals. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. The basis of good manners is self-reliance, who will add to him that abundance himself, sacrifice and ambitions to sacrifice other people without blushing. Lawless are they that make their wills their law. Of plain sound sense, life's current conscious mind is at the root of casual sensuality. There never was a bad man that bad ability for good service. He who serves the poor is great in the eyes of God. Some there be that shadows kills. Such have but a shadow's bliss. We are but as dust and a shadow, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. I never wanted to see men wicked, but I often wanted not to see them ashamed. Such an act that blurs the grace and the blush of modesty. Silence helps one suppress one's anger, as perhaps nothing else does. The unspoken poison does harm, the rest is in silence. Nothing is more simple than clearness, and these to be simple is to be great. Without an intelligent return to simplicity, there is no escape from our descent was stead lower than brutality. Sin is essentially department from God. How immense appears to us the sins that we have not committed. A little sincerity is a dangerous thing, and a great deal of it is absolutely fatal. The sincere alone can recognize sincerity. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Can the Ethiopian change his skin or the leopard his spots? If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. A house divided against itself cannot stand as this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free, corrupted freemen are the worst of slaves. The blessings of him that first invented sleep, O sleep, that ape of death, lie dull upon her, and be her sense but as a monument. How wonderful is death! Death is, and his brother sleep. One may smile and be brilliant. Eternal smiles and his emptiness betray, as shallow streams run dimpling all the way. Society is no comfort to one not sociable. Vain captains courageous, whom death could not haunt, did march to the siege of the city gaunt. Alone, all alone, all on a wide sea. Solitude sometimes is best society. Our sweetest songs are those which tell our saddest thought. Songs have immunity after death. What will a child learn sooner than a song? Some men weave their sophistry till their own reason is entangled. Past sorrows let us moderately lament them. For those to come, seek wisely to prevent them. When sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can feel. Real beauty is the beauty of the soul. Life's soul nursery. Its training places the destinies of eternity. The force of forms is powerless will march against the force of the love of the soul. Speech. The true use of the speech is not so much to express our wants as to conceal them out of the abundance of the heart. The mouth speaks, the speech. I pray you as I pronounce it to you, tripping beyond the tongue. Spirits are not blindly touched but of fine issues. They see nothing wrong in the rule, into the victim belongs the spoils of the enemy. Spring and logs, the flower to paint the languid soil, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Two things find the man with effort new and increasing wonder and aid the steady heavens above me and the moral law within me. Yes, stars, that's the poetry of heaven. The stars in the courses fought against the stray. And the state, a statesman's heart should always be in his hand. There are three kinds of lies, damn lies, and statistics. Blow winds and cracks your cheeks, rage blow your contracts and hurricane spouts till you have friends. Our stickers. No story is the same to us after the lapse of time, or rather who read it and no longer the same interpreters of it is excellent to have joints and strength, but it is tiredness to use it like a joint. To strive with an equal is a doubting thing, with a superior a mad thing, and the inferior vulgar thing. Study serves for delight, for ornament, for ability, proper person, proper places. Subtlety is Hebrew by birth. Nothing can seem foul to those who win. Self-destruction is the effect of poverty. The highest extreme never seem wiser or more learned than your company. A fellow feeling makes us wondrous time. Tact comes as much as from goodness of heart as from the fineness of death. It's always seems to be a sort of clever stupidity only to have one sort of talent, like carrier pigeon. To talk without effort is, after all, the great charm of talking. A person says is as much his own peculiar concern as his opinion or his own purse. Bad taste is the species of bad morals. Taxes as the snooze of the state, teaching to know how to suggest the art of teaching. Abstinence is the easy to me as temperaments would be difficult. More potent than the spoken word is the pure thought. It is one thing to be tempted, another thing to fall. Thinking is the talking of the soul with itself. Time conquers all, and we must time obey. I waste time, and now doth time waste me. Error at all praise both condemns. Truth condemns. If you want to see how selfish people are and how sick, deep, fashionable politeness is, take a voyage. It is time to fear when time seems to kiss. Treason places, but not the traitor. There are no crown bearers in heaven that were not cross bearers here below. Troubles are often the tools by which the God fashions us for better things. Trust. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. Trust. Truth is the law of overbeing. While you live, tell truth and shame the devil. Tyrants was not as it had power, but as it is suffered. Unhappiness is better not to be than to be unhappy. She had tied sharp to the kindness of vulture here. Man having enslaved, the elements remain himself slave. The bitter part of valor is discretion. Nothing is so credulous as vanity, and or so ignorant of what becomes itself. Variety is the spice of life. It gives it all its flavor. Vengeance is no foresight. One wise worn out makes us wiser than 50 tutors. In victory, the hero seeks the glory, not the prey. Eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Violence delights have violent ends. Good company and good discourse are the very sinews of virtue. The voice of celestial melody and its woes may heedfully be broken, be though familiar, but by no means vulgar. One, the fewer our wants, the nearer we resemble the cause. War that made the world so love to play. To be weak is miserable doing or suffering. Less coin, less care. To know how to dispense with wealth, to possess it. A table full of welcome. Make scarce one dainty dish. People do not lack strength, they lack wealth. It blows the wind that offers no bite. Wine invents nothing, it only tattles. It lets out secrets. Wishing the constant hectic of the fool, wit is the sort of the conversation, not the fool. Woman reduces all to common denominator. The knowledge of words is the gate of scholarship. Give me my love. Give me love and work. These two only. Trust not the world, for it never paid what is promised. Youth is a continual intoxication. It is a fever of reason. Aha, beautiful. Immortal quotations and proverbs. Love it. Ability is a poor man's wealth. Natural abilities are like natural plants, they need pruning by study. Natural ability without education is more often raised a man to glory and virtue than education without natural ability. Abilities of little account without opportunity. We judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing, while others judge us by what we have already done. Behind an able man, there are always other able men. And we advance in life, we learn the limits of our abilities. They are able because they think they are able. It's not something that is much more so rare, scarce, something rare about than ability, is the ability to recognize ability. People are always ready to admit a man's ability after he gets there. Native ability without education is like a tree without fruit. Men take only their needs into consideration. Since we cannot know all that is to be known for everything, we ought to know a little about everything, for each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. A man may be so much of everything that he is nothing of anything. There is a great ability in knowing how to conceive one's ability. The winds and waves are always inside of their place. Navigate into what you can with what you have. Here you are. The human body has one ability that possessed by any machine, the ability to repair itself. What we do upon some great occasion will probably depend on what we will bring here, and what we will be the result of the previous years of self-discipline. The man who can speak acceptable is usually given credit for ability out of the proportion to what he really possesses. The actions of men are the best interpreters of the thoughts. Think of the morning, act in the noon, eat in the evening, sleep in the night. Action of men are like the index of book. They point at what is most remarkable in them. Actions are ours, but consequences belong to God. Let not the fruits of the action be the motive of our actions. Otherwise, you might be disappointed and leave the path of right action. And righteousness deeds gradually undermine the foundation of happiness. He who knows both action and knowledge with action overcomes death, and with knowledge reaches immortality. Be concerned with actions only, never with its results. Strong reasons make strong actions. The great end of life is not knowledge but action. Get good counsel before you begin, and when you have decided, act promptly. Every man feels instinctively that all the beautiful sentiments in the world weigh less than a single lovely action. Nobody can become perfect by merely ceasing to act. Successful action tends to become an end in itself. To do nothing is in every man's power. He that is overcautious will accomplish little. What's done can't be undone. I shall tell you a great secret, my friend. Do not wait for the last judgment. It takes place every day. Deliberation is the work of many men, action of one alone. All action are judged by the motives prompting them. Our good and evil deeds follow us continually like shadows. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is happiness without action. No happiness without action. Actions speak louder than words. Right action cannot come out of nothing. It must be preceded by thought. Every noble activity makes room of itself. Advice. To accept good advice is but to increase one's ability to give advice by the bucket but take it by the queen. Old people love to give good advice. It compensates them for their inability to set a bad example. Advice is seldom welcome. Those who need it most like it least. Never give advice in crowd. Never give advice until asked. Many receive advice, only the wise gossip by it. I have found the best way to bear advice to your children is to find out what they want, and then advise them to do it. Advice is a drug in the market, and supply always exists there. The man, if a man does give advice, it's a sure sign that he himself wants it. We give advice, but we do not inspire conduct. If you tell the difference between a good advice, bad advice, you don't need advice. The profit from good advice requires more wisdom than to give it. The only thing to do with good advice is to pass it on. It is never of any use to oneself. Never advise anyone to go to war or to marry. When a man comes to you for advice, I find out the kind of advice he wants and I give it to him. Whatever advice you give, be sure. Good counsel has no price. Admonish your friends privately, but trust them openly. Never trust the advice of a man in difficulties. When a man seeks your advice, he generally wants to praise you. One gives nothing so freely as advice. I'm glad that I have paid so little attention to good advice. Had I abided by it, I might have been saved from some of the most valuable mistakes. Advice is like show, the softer it falls, the longer it goes upon, and the deeper it sinks into the mind. 8. No wise man ever wished to be younger. To know how to grow old is the masterwork of the wisdom and one of the most difficult chapters in the great art of living. In youth, the days are short and the years are long. In old age, the years are short and the days are long. Study until 25, investigation until 40, profession until 60, at which age I would have retired on a double allowance. Youth is a blunder, manhood a struggle, old age a regret. At 20 years of age, the will resigns. At 30, the wet. At 40, the judgment. Your old man shall dream dreams, your young man shall see visions. We do not count a man's years until he has nothing else to count. Old wood best is burned, old wine to drink, old friends to trust, and old authors to read. The first 40 years of life gives us the next text, the next 30 supply the commentary on it. The old believe everything, the middle age suspect everything, the young know everything, the old man is twice a child. I'm getting old, and the sign of old age is that I begin to philosophize and ponder over problems which should not have been my concern at all. A man that is young in years may be old in hours. It has lost no time. A man is as old as he is feeling, a woman as old as she looks. A diplomat is a man who always remembers a woman's birthday but not never remembers her age. Whenever a man's friends begin to compliment him about looking young, he may be sure that they think he's growing old. One should never trust a woman who tells one her real age. A woman who would tell one that would tell one anything. From birth to age 18, a girl needs good parents. From 18 to 35, she needs good looks. From 35 to 55, she needs good personality. From 55 on, she needs good cash. Age consider youthful ventures. Beautiful youth ventures. Anger. Anger is one of the sinews of the soul. Anger is short madness. So, control your passion or it will control you. Anger makes it dull and busy, but it keeps them poor. The man who gets angry at the right things at the right time with the right people at the right time and the right length of the time is commented. An angry man opens his mouth and shuts up his eyes. When angry can't fall, when very angry swear. And anger raises invention, but it sits open. The open anger blows the lamp of the mind. To be angry is the revenge, the faults of others on ourselves. Never forget what a man says to you when he's angry. Never answer a little when you're angry. Beware the fury of a patient man. Men often wake up and write what they want and reason. Never go to bed mad. Stay up at night. I never work better than I am inspired by anger. When I'm angry, I can write, pray, preach well, for then my whole temperament is quickened, my understanding sharpened, and all mental vexations and temptations depart. Prompted by anger, man kills his own mother, father, brothers, his friends, and relations. He will often have occasion to repent the actions done under the impulse of anger. Anger is that which destroys one's virtue. So give up anger. Anger indeed is Yama, the great enemy. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath, and my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow. Anger begins in folly, ends in repentance. Anger is the most important of passion. It affects nothing it goes about than the one who possesses by it more than the one who against whom it is directed. From anger comes delusion, which results in loss of memory. Loss of memory causes destruction of discrimination, and from the region of discrimination, the man perishes as he consumed is transmuted into energy. So anger control can be transmuted into a power which can move the world. Wow. Argument. Argument is the worst sort of conversation. It is not necessary to understand things in order to argue about them. Discussion is an exchange of knowledge. Argument is an exchange of ignorance. Wise men argue causes and fools decide them. A good man does not argue. He who argues is not a good man. No matter what side of the argument you're on, you always find some people on your side that you wish were on the other side. Give me the liberty to know, to utter, and to argue freely according to conscience above all liberties. The finding of argument for a conclusion gave in advance is not philosophy but special pleading. Many can argue, not many converse. Never argue at a dinner table, for the